Hi everyone, welcome to our first YouTube live CPD session. Let us know that you can hear us clear and you can see us okay. This is our first time we're using YouTube to deliver CPD, so if we get anything wrong, do forgive us and let us know how we can improve the session. So I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes, not a few minutes, that's something too long, right? A minute or two, just to introduce themselves. You can type in on the chat that you can hear me and everything is clear, video is clear, and the sound is clear. That would help me just to get things right and get things moving accordingly. So let me know on the chat that you can hear me and we can start our session. I'm not sure how many we're going to expect in our CPD sessions over the webinars that we delivered during the pandemic. We had quite a few people watching. We had about, in one session, we had over 1,100 teachers and head teachers watching our webinar and communicating. So this one we haven't promoted as much just because we're kind of new to YouTube and we just want to make sure that we want to get this one right because our first one on YouTube and there's always some sort of technical issues, and just to make sure that you can hear me and we can kind of communicate well. So thank you, Yelenia from Malta. Video is clear and sound is clear. Okay, great. So I'm going to get started. Not that many people watching us probably at this time, but that's not a problem. This is a live session. It's not going to be recorded and played out to anyone else. So it's great that you're here. My name is Mohiuddin Ahmed. I'm the founder of Bar Model Company. I've been delivering CPD for quite a long time now. Some of you may know me from different places like Maths No Problem or Macmillan Education, International, and so forth. So you may have, seen me deliver sessions face to face, which we're still doing at the Bar Model Company. So if you needed any face-to-face CPD, then just let us know by contacting us. So let's get started. It's been about 2 minutes since we started. So let's get started with our CPD session. So let me just turn my iPad on and we can get started. So one of the key parts of our CPD session for today is this question: bar modeling in year 5 and 6, question mark. So the reason I've chosen this topic is because during the sessions that we've delivered to schools, I know what happens. Teachers, they love the bar model approach. They can see how important it is for visualization of many things, including word problems. But year 5 and 6 teachers, and sometimes even year 4 teachers, are slightly reluctant. And the reason why they're reluctant is because they can see how much effort the teachers in year 1, 2, 3, 4 put into the bar model approach. And maybe their school has just started to use the bar modeling approach, or that maybe they've invested just recently in books that use the bar modeling approach. And so their concern is that children don't have any experience of bar modeling, and suddenly I'm going to be throwing bar modeling to them in year 5 and 6. Is that going to be something they can handle? Is that something that I can teach them? Do I have the confidence? Do I have the knowledge of how to teach the bar modeling approach? And so we're going to cover some of those aspects in today's session. And so looking at our session today, this is the agenda for the day. So our session shouldn't last more than an hour. It should be around about 40 minutes mark, but sometimes I can talk on for a long time when it comes to maths, as some of you may know. And so I might take a bit longer than that. But the key for today's agenda is quick presentation about myself, then talking about the 3 ways of using the bar modeling approach or bar models, then also looking at non-problem solving examples, and also just highlighting a free app that we use, and also maybe even some paid iPad apps that you can use in your classrooms. And then finally, we have a short Q&A session. We don't have a huge amount of people watching today, so it'll probably be very short if any questions are asked of us. So let's get started. So a bit about myself, if you don't know me already. My name is Mohiuddin Ahmed. I am the founder of the Bar Model Company. I've also got another company called the Singapore Maths Academy. I'm a former head teacher. I've got 8 years experience in training teachers all across the world. Just before the pandemic, we were quite active internationally. We were going to different countries and delivering CPD from Germany to Egypt to many other parts of the world as well. So I've been trained by Singapore experts. My background is pretty much PGCE secondary from a long time ago to head teacher. I've also been a Maths No Problem consultant for about 3 years with them. And I'm a math specialist, so I only focus on maths, as well as being an international speaker and a long time ago now, an outstanding teacher as well from Ofsted. So let's go into what we need to do today. And today we're going to look at a few things, right? So, for example, we talked about in our agenda 3 ways of using bar models. And one of the ways is to introduce a new topic. So for year 5 and 6, it might be introducing ratio. How do we introduce ratio? So a question like this might come up. James and Sarah share £16. For every £3 Sarah received, James received £1. How much do they receive? How much do they each receive? So a question like this, we might be tempted into going into straight away, looking at ratios, looking at how we write ratios. But in this question, the word ratio has not been used, okay, apart from maybe the title at the top, okay, so ignore the title. So the word ratio hasn't been used as such. And so what we can do is just use this example to get to understand ratios without actually saying the word ratio. And so what I might get my class to do, I might give them 16 coins or 16 counters and let them play around with what they think this means. So what does it mean, class? For every £3 that Sarah receives, James receives £1, right? What does that mean? It's one of the questions that I might ask my children. And so what happens next? So they kind of ask themselves questions, they play around with the counters, and then they come to a conclusion that James, for every time that I give James £3, so I've got James here, and I've got Sarah here, and for every time I give James £3, so let's say £1, £2, £3, I'm going to give Sarah just £1. Okay, so every time I give James £3, Sarah gets £1. Class, do we still have any money left from £16? Yes, we do, right? So we can keep adding £3. Every time I put £3 here for James, I'm going to give Sarah £1, right? And there you go. So we can go and continue this until we finish giving out all the money. So I'm going to give another £3 to James. So the class start to understand and visualize what it means to actually go through a question where it asks us to give a certain amount to someone, and for every time we do that, someone else gets another amount. So they get used to that, right? And then we can see that we can ask the class, okay, class, every time we give James £3, we give Sarah £1. So every time we're actually sharing £4, right? Every time we give even £1 to someone, actually we're gonna have to give £4, right? You've got £4 here, £4 there, £4 here, another £4 there. And so we can kind of get to understand what ratio is by looking at it in this way. And then that will lead us to understand that actually for Sarah and James, I know that James, for every £3 he gets, Sarah gets £1. So that's 4 parts altogether, right? Out of the 16, we're giving 4 parts away. And I have to give 16. So all of this has to be £16. And so I've got 4 parts. Altogether, it's £16. So each part must be 16 divided by 4, which is £4, right? So each part must be £4. This is £4, this is £4, this is £4. Does that make 16? 4, 8, 12, 16. Yeah, it does make 16. So when we start to look at ratio, year 5 and 6 teachers have that idea, I suppose, or that feeling that, bar models are probably not the perfect time for us because they should have had all of that experience in year 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Before they get to year 5 and 6. This is a year 6 topic in England. But actually, when we introduce new topics, so we know in year 6, for example, we've got algebra, we've got ratio, and a few other topics as well that come up in year 6 and year 5. Year 4, excuse me, we've got area, for example. That's quite new. So anywhere there's a new topic where we can introduce the bar model approach, children won't know any better, right? They're not going to question you. Why are you using the bar model approach? They don't know how it's going to be taught. And so when it's a new topic, what we can do is introduce, wherever possible, the idea with bars, if it's appropriate, right? So for ratio, for fractions, for percentages, it's perfect for us to use bar models because it just really works well, especially when it comes to problem solving. But problem solving is not the only aspect of bar modeling. So one of the, I think, misconceptions that we have is that problem solving and bar modeling are one, and there's no way we can break that up. There's nothing else we can do with bar modeling. But actually, bar modeling is great to introduce many topics as well. Okay, it's not just in a corner for problem solving. We just get that out when it's problem solving time. So there's other ways we can look at bar modeling, including introducing topics with bar modeling. Another way is for explanations. So let's say we're in year 6 and we're kind of preparing for our SATs possibly, and children just are not remembering how to solve a question like this: 2/3 divided by 3. How are we going to do that? Well, we can explain to them as much as we want verbally, right? We can write the abstract as much as we want, but what happens? They still may not get it, right? Because they can't understand the concept. The concept is key. What do we typically say to our children when we have a question like this? We say keep, flip, and multiply, or something along those lines, right? So what does that mean? It means we keep 2/3 the same, we multiply, and we flip a third, right? Flip 3, so it becomes a reciprocal of 3, which is a third. And then we multiply. 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 3 is 9, and so we have 2 9ths there, right? So that's something that maybe we could do. Is that right? 2/3 divided by 3 is going to be 2 9ths. And so that is something that I know a lot of children will forget. Okay, they might not remember. I remember speaking to a head teacher, and he was saying how, after the SATs, one of the children said, "Oh, I remember this. Maybe even actually this question came up," and they said, "Oh, one of the children said to me, oh, I remember something to do with multiply. I didn't understand it, but I just tried my best," which is great. We want children to try their best, but if they could understand what was happening, what was asked of them, that would be much better, because then you've got a much better chance of actually answering the question correctly. So how would we solve this? So how would we explain using bar models how to solve this question? What I might do is ask children, can you draw thirds for me? Is it possible for us to draw 2/3? So here we are. We've got thirds here. I've got 1/3 and 2/3 and 3/3 actually, right? And so these are our 2/3. Okay, I'm going to highlight that with my green highlighter. So I've got 2/3 here, class. And I'm asked to divide my 2/3 by 3. Now, that's a bit tricky, right? Because I've only got 2 parts. It would be nice if the part that I had was easily divisible by 3, right? Because we're dividing by 3. So if I did this, now I've got 4 parts. Can I divide 4 parts by 3? Still a bit of a challenge, right? To divide 4 parts by 3. What can I do then? Maybe I can make 2 parts into smaller parts, but it will be 6 parts. So now we can say that, this 2/3, it's not only 2/3, it's also 6 something. 6, what's 6? 6, how many of those small parts do we need to make the whole? There are 9 small parts to make the whole. So that's going to be 6 9ths. So 2/3 is equal to 6 9ths. Can we divide 6 9ths by 3, class? I've got 6 parts here. If I had 6 cars divided by 3, what would that be? 6 cars divided by 3 would be 2 cars each, right? So 6 ninths divided by 3 would be 2 ninths, just like we have here. So visually, we can start to explain things and connect what we want to say, right? And what we do in an abstract way, but we can actually show our children visually why we do what we do. So as I mentioned earlier, there's 3 ways we can use the bar model approach. 1 is to introduce a topic. 2 is to explain something. And thirdly, we can also use it to visualize problems. Now, this is what bar modeling has ended up being known for, problem solving, which is great because problem solving is one of the more challenging aspects of maths, right? Am I right or wrong? Let me know. Challenging aspects of maths, I would say problem solving is up there, right? And so having something like the bar model approach really does support our children in understanding different questions. So let's have a look at this question. It says the sum of 2 numbers is 46 and their difference is 12. What are the 2 numbers? I'm going to let you have a go at it. So I'll give you a minute or less than that maybe, depending on how many minutes you need. Let me know what you think. Can you see yourself using the bar model approach for this? Can you see where we would do that? Can you see how it would look? Describe to me how it would look. You can type it in. You can tell me the answer if you want. Tell me if this is an easy question for your children. So I know we've got Elenia, who's from Malta. Let me know, do you think this is an easy question for your children in year 5, let's say, or year 6? This could actually be looked at in year 4 to 5, I would say. So let me know what you think of this question. And I think we've got a few of us watching. I think about five of us watching at this current time. So if you want to introduce yourself, it would be great. Does what I'm saying make sense? Was the last example a good example? As you're trying to do this question, I'm going to see if I can try to see what I could do with this one. Okay, so I might draw some things and highlight a few things as you try this one out. So okay, so great. So Yelena says our children struggle with reasoning and problem solving, so they'll definitely find it a challenge. Yeah, I think quite a few children will find this one a challenge, right? Because it's something that doesn't give much away, right? And we're trying to work out the 2 numbers. So how would we try this question? How would we try to solve this question using the bar model approach? Let's have a look. So it says it's the sum. So we need to know some of the key words here. What does the sum mean, class? It means when we add, right? So when we add the 2 numbers, we get 46. So I know I'm going to have 2 numbers, okay? I'm going to draw them as bars. I've got this bar here to represent our first number. And I'll have another bar to represent our second number. But that other bar says, well, how is that going to look like? It's going to be smaller or larger? Let's see. Thank you, Katie. Katie says my class would find this difficult, right? So I think a lot of us, right, will find it difficult. Stefan says, yes, I think your point about children understanding what is being asked of them is extremely important. Thank you, Stefan. Yeah, I think it is very important because if they don't understand, then they're not going to be able to replicate a solution if a similar question came up, right? They might just about get what you're doing in this question, but they won't understand how to do it another time. So yeah, so we can make it bigger or smaller. It says there that the difference is 12. So do we know what difference means, class? Difference means, what does difference means? It means how much more or less something is, right? So we've got, let's say this is the smaller number, S for smaller, and we've got a larger number here, okay? And so the larger number is not going to be the same size as a smaller number, right? It's going to be bigger. By how much, class? Do you know how much bigger it's going to be? It says the difference is 12. So it must be 12 more. Right, so this must be 12. This extra part must be 12. At this section here, this section I'm highlighting in green, is it different to this section here in green for the larger number? No, they're exactly the same, right? They're exactly the same. But the large number has 12 more. So you can see it's got 12 more. So that's right. That's how we might draw a bar model for this. Is there anything that I'm missing from the question? Is there anything I can add from the question? What do you think? I've got the 12 here, tick, but I don't have the 46 written just yet. Where am I going to put the 46? I know altogether the sum, when we add these two numbers together, is 46. So I'm going to put the 46 here. Does that make sense, class? Right, so I've got these two numbers. When I add them together, it's 46. And the difference between them, right, up to here is the same. Difference between them is 12. How am I going to solve this question? Look, these two are the same. These two green bars are exactly the same. This 12 and the two green parts, two equal parts, makes 46. So if I get rid of the 12, if I subtract the 12, I'll have 46 take away 12. 46 take away 12 is going to be 34. It's going to be 34. What does the 34 represent, class? The 34 represents the two green parts, because I can literally just take this away, right? Oops. I can take this away. I've got rid of the 12, and now I've got these two green parts, right? And so these two green parts are not 46 anymore, because I've taken the 12 away. They're going to represent 34. And so 34 two equal parts. Each part must be 34 divided by 2, which some of us have written already, 17. So this part must be 17, and this part must be 17, because together it makes 34. And I know the larger number is 12 more, so the smaller number is going to be 17. The larger number is going to be 17. Add the 12, which I think some of us, Jill, has written, is 29. So we've got 17 and 29 are the two numbers we were trying to work out. Now, class, be honest with me. Did that make sense? Do you think the bar models helped you? Do you think that using the bar models made you understand the next steps? What we're doing here in this class is we're using the iPad, right? So I can move things about, but ideally what I would want is some sort of paper where I can show my children that concrete step that we always talk about in our CPD sessions, this concrete pictorial abstract method. So we've just jumped onto the pictorial abstract, but if we had some paper, I don't have any paper lying around here right now, but if we had some paper, then that would also work very effectively, especially if your children are quite new to the bar model approach. So these are the three steps that we've talked about at the beginning. We've said that there are three ways of using bar models. One is to introduce, two is to explain something, and three is to visualize problems. But when it comes to year 5, they're not going to have as much experience, year 5 and 6, using the bar model approach. So how can we make sure, even though they've not had the prerequisites, like in nursery, maybe our teachers will be showing a question like this in nursery and in reception, where they're comparing green apples with red apples, how many more green apples there are there. You can literally see that there's 2 more green apples here. And so that's easy to see because of the way we've laid it out. So they're going to miss out on all of these prerequisites, 10 frames, part whole model, moving on to the bar model of part whole. All of these are missing, and then suddenly we're going to have questions like this pop up right in year 5 and 6. Are we expecting them without that much experience to just jump in here with the bar model approach? It's going to be challenging. I don't think that we're going to be able to do that very easily. But how do we make it easier for us is the question that I'm here to hopefully support you with, right? And so the first step, as I mentioned earlier, is to use concrete materials. So things like paper are actually brilliant. We've got these here. Just show you on my board. We've got these magnetic bars, which you can just about see. There we are. And we can use these really effectively for bar modeling, because for teachers, they're ideal, right? We can just stick them on our board and there we go, right? We can show them, we can write around it. That's really useful for teachers, right? But not as useful for children on their tables. So for them, paper would be ideal. So using the concrete materials would be ideal for us for the first step. The second step, and third and fourth step actually as well, suggestions that I would make to our schools that we deliver training to is firstly, work on scenarios. Scenarios are such an important part. So instead of asking questions, just put a scenario out there. If this person has A amount, let's say 5, if this person has 5 and this person has 3 times as many, how would the bar model look like? So you're not asking them to answer any questions. There's no calculations needed, okay? But just looking at more like art, how do I draw the model for this? So what you're really picking out on is reasoning skills. Can they reason well with the bar models? Once they accomplish that level, the next step might be we can have weekly competitions, because you're not going to be teaching bar models every week. What you might introduce is some basic questions. So if you're in year 5 and 6 already, then maybe picking out year 3 and 4 questions and asking them to only use bar models. You might have 2 questions a week, one a simple one and one a more challenging one. And then you can set competitions every week. Who can use the bar model approach? Can you show me your model? Can you make sure it's really neat and it's very accurate? And then we can kind of maybe award someone with the best model, right? So using weekly competitions in that way would be helpful as well. Let me know what you think about my suggestions, whether they are beneficial, whether this webinar YouTube Live has been good for you, just so that I understand, because it's hard to deliver these sessions without knowing or interacting with you much. So when I go into schools, I love it because I get to see teachers, I get to talk to them, and also I get to see their faces and just understand they get what I'm saying or they don't understand what I'm saying. Whereas these live sessions, as much as I like delivering them as well, it's got a different feel and different vibe, right? Because I can't understand or see how you are responding to the kind of CPD session. So let me know if it's going well or not for you. So our final one is staff meetings. Getting a question, just one question, doesn't have to be a big question. It could be a very simple question, but going through different questions every week, getting your staff involved, putting a question up on the board and saying, all right, guys, let's all try to have a go at this. 1, do it without bar modeling at all. 2, see if you can use the bar model approach, and then bring up your solutions on the board when you're ready. And so that way we can get our staff to be more confident and also allow them to make those mistakes. Because at the beginning, they will probably make a few mistakes, right? And see how that goes. So we've kind of been delivering this for about 30 minutes now. So I'm going to try to start wrapping things up. Even though I've got a few more slides, I'll go through one more aspect with you. So even though in year 6 we look at algebra more formally, using the bar model approach in years 2, 3, 4, really what we're doing is we're encouraging algebraic thinking. That's the key. Algebraic thinking through bar modeling is what we're doing, okay? And so instead of writing X's and Y's, we're just using bars. That's all it is, unknowns, right? The bar's unknown, and we kind of work out what the bar's worth. And so a question like this one here, Adam has twice as many cards as Hassan. Altogether, they have 48 cards. How many cards does Adam have? So here, using bar model approach, what we would do is A for Adam has twice as many as Hassan, H for Hassan. So Adam, if Hassan has this amount, Adam will have twice that, something like that, right? We'll have twice as many. And so altogether, they have 48. So you can see here, all of this is 48. Now, typically, the mistake that children and some adults would make is 48 cards, twice as many, 48 divided by 2. 48 divided by 24. So that must mean that Hassan has 24 and Adam has 24 times 2, 48. But then you realize, oh, altogether they have 48. So someone can't have 48 and someone else can have 24. That would mean that they've got more than 48 altogether. So that doesn't work very well. And so here, looking at the bar model though, you can straight away see there are 3 parts, right? And so it's easy for us to see that it's 48 divided by 3. And then we can take it from there. We can work out each part and then see what how much Adam has, right? So 48 divided by 3 is going to be 16, right? And then that means that each of these parts is 16, 32, 48. And it says how many cards does Adam have? So we're trying to work out what this is. And so that's going to be 16 times 2, which is 32. So Adam has 32 cards and Hassan has 16 cards, right? And altogether that's 48. Adam has twice as many as Hassan. Now, that's without any algebra, okay? When we look at this algebraically, we would just have Adam and Hassan. Hassan has x, Adam has 2x. Altogether, it's 48. So x plus 2x equals 48. So 3x is equal to 48. And therefore, x must be 48 divided by 3. And therefore, x, or over 3, I should write. And therefore, x is 16. Okay? I'm just going for that really quickly, just to show you that the similarities, where this was x, x, and x, we would just write x instead of leaving the bar blank. Yeah? And so we can see altogether that's 3x, and altogether that 3x equals to 48, and solve accordingly. So it's so important that we get bar modeling right, because it's algebraic thinking at the end of the day. Okay? We get that right from year 1, 2 onwards. Year 1 informally, reception very informally, year 2 more formally, and all the way to year 6 much more formally, right? And much more abstract in year 6 as well. Things like algebra, super abstract. And so if we got it right from year 2, 3, 4, then our year 5 and 6 teachers will have an easier time solving and teaching rather topics like algebra. And so using bar models can, for year 5 and 6, even if if you're a year 5 and 6 teacher and your school hasn't used bar model approach before, and you're going into algebra, it kind of makes sense for us to use the bars even if they haven't done any bar modeling before, because children can visually see that each bar is worth X, and therefore they can, when you ask those awkward and challenging questions, there's not going to be a blank face and silence all across your room, but you can have some interaction because you can see the bars, and that's why it's very helpful. I'm going to stop there just to kind of reiterate that it's really important for us to use the CPA approach. I couldn't do it here as much, but concrete can just be something as simple as bars like this, or paper even, and also for us to just keep trying to get our kids to use the paper and concrete, because a lot of kids will think that they don't need the concrete because they already know the answer. But then when you dig in and ask those challenging questions, whys and the hows, they don't know how to answer those questions. And therefore, the bar model approach allows them to see why things work and how things work. And so when you ask those questions, it's much easier for them. If you needed any CPD support for your school, please do book us in. We are available to deliver in schools all over England. And I think that internationally now, things are opening up a lot more. Certain countries we're allowed to go into. So if you are keen on getting some outstanding math CPD, do let us know. Our sessions are very interactive, much more hands-on than this session as such. But got ideas to kind of improve these sessions to become much more interactive. What I'm going to try to do is have more regular, maybe bi-weekly, fortnightly sessions for us to have some CPD. It won't be as long as this, like 40 minutes now, nearly, but maybe it'll be shorter 20-minute chunks for us to understand different aspects of maths, not just the bar model approach, more visual approaches for us to understand how to teach maths. If you'd like that, let me know in the comments section, and do like this video if it's been helpful to you, and do let your colleagues know about us as well. And if you want a book, please do contact us through our website, and we would love to be in your school delivering some outstanding CPD sessions with you. That's all from me. Thank you so much for attending. I know it's been a small group. We've had like over 1,000 teachers at one point in the webinars in the pandemic. This has been a lot smaller, but we haven't been promoting it as much as we normally do, just because it's YouTube and it's our first one, and we want to make sure we get this one right. And if we don't get it right, at least it's a small group, I suppose. It's not too bad. And if we do get it right, then we're going to be more confident to deliver more sessions in the future. So I want to leave now to kind of give you the floor and get any questions from you. I think Jill says joined all your lockdown sessions. Thank you, Jill, which I really appreciate and enjoy. Thank you once more. Stefan says thank you very much. So thank you for all of you for attending those sessions in the lockdown. We've been away for quite a while online, so it's been a challenging time, but we've really enjoyed those lockdown sessions, and we'd love to do more. So thank you all. Yelena, the session was great, simple and direct, practical. Thanks. Thank you so much, everyone. I can't see any questions, so I think that might be it from us. I'm going to give everyone just a minute more if you wanted to ask any questions. If not, it's not a problem, and we would love to see you again, maybe in about 2 weeks' time. If it's not holidays in that time, I don't think it is. Or maybe one more session before end of term, and another session just at the beginning of the new term as well. Like I said, don't forget, book your CPD sessions. We've also got online bar model training, if you rather have your own personal online tutor, I suppose, going through things with you, from the basics all the way to challenging aspects like the before and after situations. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. It's been wonderful to see few of the not familiar faces, familiar names, I suppose, that I've seen over the course of the pandemic, and I will see everyone again another time. Take care, everyone. Bye.